Imagine a world completely different from the one we know today. No trees, no flowers, no shade. The earth was silent, barren, naked, a planet of rocks, primitive oceans, and an unstable sky. This is the history of plants. A story that does not begin with forests, but with invisible microorganisms struggling to survive on a hostile planet. The first green of the world. More than 3 billion years ago, life already existed in the oceans, but there were no leaves, no roots, no seeds. The first protagonists of this story were simple organisms, microscopic algae and cyanobacteria. They discovered something revolutionary, using sunlight to create energy. This process, called photosynthesis, changed everything. By capturing light and releasing oxygen, these life forms slowly transformed Earth's atmosphere. The sky changed, the seas changed, the planet breathed for the first time. Without knowing it, these tiny ancestral plants were preparing the world for something much greater, the conquest of land. For millions of years, plant life remained confined to water. Dry land was dangerous. Drought, intense radiation, extreme temperature variations. But evolution never stops. Around 470 million years ago, some plants dared to do the unthinkable. They left the water. They were small, simple, without true leaves or deep roots. They resembled primitive mosses. Yet, this was one of the greatest steps in the history of life. To survive on land, plants had to invent brilliant solutions. Protective coatings to prevent water loss. Structures to anchor themselves in the soil. Internal systems to transport nutrients. Each adaptation was a victory. Slowly, Earth began to turn green, the birth of forests. Over time, some plants grew. They grew tall. Giant ferns appeared with thick trunks and enormous leaves. Entire forests spread across the continents. The soil became richer. The climate began to change. These ancient forests captured vast amount of carbon from the atmosphere. Part of them, buried over millions of years, would transform into something we still use today. Coal. Plants were not just occupying the earth. They were shaping the planet's future. The invention of seeds. But there was still a problem. How to reproduce far from water. The answer came with one of the greatest innovations in plant evolution, the seed. Inside it, life could travel, wait, resist cold, drought, and time. The first seed plants dominated terrestrial environments. They no longer depended on water to reproduce. The world became more diverse, more complex, more alive. Flowers, the silent revolution. Then, something extraordinary happened. Plants began to flower. Flowers were not just beautiful. They were strategic. They attracted insects, birds, small animals. They created invisible but powerful partnerships. In exchange for nectar, pollinators carried pollen from one place to another. Reproduction became more efficient than ever. This alliance transformed the earth. An explosion of colors, scents, and shapes. Each flower was a promise of the future. Plants and animals. With more plants, more animals emerged. Herbivores evolved to feed on them. Predators arose to hunt those herbivores. Entire ecosystems were built upon roots, leaves, and seeds. Plants became the invisible foundation of all complex life. Without them, there is no food, no oxygen, no balance. The encounter with humans. And then we arrived. Humans found in plants. Food, medicine, shelter, fire, tools, culture. We learned to plant, harvest, select, and cross species. Plants shape civilizations. Wheat, rice, corn coffee, fruits, herbs. Every society grew around its plants. But for the first time, something changed. The balance began to break. The price of progress. Forests were cut down. Species disappeared. Entire ecosystems were destroyed in just a few generations. Plants that took millions of years to evolve were lost in decades, and the planet responded. Unstable climate, depleted soils, suffocating cities. The same force that sustains life also feels when it is wounded. The green future. Today, the history of plants enters a new chapter. Scientists study how to restore forests. Farmers learn to produce without destroying. People rediscover the value of a tree, a shade, a seed. Plants continue doing what they have always done, absorbing carbon, producing oxygen, sustaining life. The question is not about them. It is about us. Will we be the generation that ends this story, or the one that chooses to protect it? Because as long as there is a leaf in the wind, a root in the soil, a flower opening to the sun, the history of plants remains the history of life on Earth. And if you made it this far, it's because this story is also about you, because every breath you take, every meal on your table begins with a plant. If this journey through time helped you see the world differently, don't let this story end here. Like this video so more people can discover the silent power of plants. Subscribe to the channel to continue traveling through the great stories that shaped Earth, life, and humanity, because understanding the past is the first step toward protecting the future.